What's up, guys? Trail here, better known as Budget Bill, and this is your third stimulus check update and stimulus package update for Sunday, February the 21st. Good morning, everyone, and happy Sunday. The final details of the $1.9 trillion stimulus package has now been released, and we have the details to share with you. It includes things like stimulus checks, unemployment benefits, food assistance, housing aid, tax credits, and many, many more. This bill looks pretty good. However, we have one Democrat that might cause problems with this bill being passed in the Senate. Let's go ahead and talk about it today. But before we get started, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell, then smash the like button like it's going out of style. Let's go ahead and jump right into the video. What's up, guys? The final bill to the third stimulus package has finally been released. This massive $1.9 trillion package is about 591 pages. And of course, I didn't read the entire bill, but do you blame me? As most of you and myself, I was worried about the things in this bill that could affect regular folks like you and I, such as the $1,400 stimulus checks. That's probably the number one thing that most Americans care about because so many people are suffering right now as the effects from the pandemic. And people want money, but not because they are just greedy or they just don't want to go back to work. They want money because they are out of work and they need to put food on their table for their families. And that's why I only review the major pieces of this bill that would affect many of you, including myself. Now, this bill was constructed from 9 different committees that were in charge of putting together the pieces to the puzzle of this bill and the final piece of legislation. Most of the bill aligns with what President Biden has been talking about over the past few months, so nothing really surprising at all. But here are the details that we have so far. Let's start off with the $1,400 stimulus checks. Yes, that amount still stands the same, and it's also $1,400 for dependents or children as well as adult dependents. So if you have a family of 4, you could receive up to $5,600 in stimulus checks. In order to qualify, individuals must make less than $75,000 per year, and for married couples, they must make less than $150,000 per year. Then if you make more than that, the $1,400 stimulus checks would phase out to zero when you earn $100,000 for individuals or $200,000 for couples. The IRS will use your latest tax return, whether it was 2019 or 2020, in order to determine whether you are eligible for the $1,400 stimulus checks. Then for unemployment, the stimulus bill would extend both pandemic unemployment programs through the end of August 29th to be exact. The Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program and the PEUC, or the Pandemic Emergency Unemployment Compensation Program. Both of those will be extended through August the 29th. And the stimulus plan also provides more money for the unemployed individuals that are out of work. Right now, unemployment benefits offer $300 per week federal boost. The third stimulus plan would increase that to $400 per week. Remember when the pandemic first hit America and people were receiving $600 per week in federal boost? It was causing some people to make more money on unemployment than they were from their regular jobs. So that amount was significantly slashed in half. And then there is an expansion of the healthcare coverage. Biden made a promise to make affordable healthcare available to more Americans. So he has increased the federal subsidies to help people buy private health insurance plans and to make them available to more people. They are offering new incentives that have not expanded their Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. Then they want the government to pick up health insurance costs for those who have lost their jobs. Right now, there are no subsidies for people who exceed 400% of the poverty line. The new changes would allow more people to qualify for subsidies. Also, for people who make less than 150% of the poverty line would no longer have to contribute to health insurance. And there are a few changes to these subsidies that I won't go into great detail on this video, but all of those new changes will be in effect for 2 years once this bill is signed into legislation. The bill called for state and local government aid to help low-income households stay in their homes, providing about $10 billion to assist with back pay rent, rental assistance, mortgage assistance, and paying utility bills, and some additional monies to help people that are at risk of being homeless. And then we also talked about them increasing the child tax credits to $3,600 for children under 6 years old and $3,000 for children under 18 years old. They have changed this so that the tax credit is fully refundable, which would allow low-income parents to receive monthly payments rather than receiving it once per year. And then for education, they have allocated about $130 billion to schools K through 12 to help students return back to their classrooms much safely. The money would be used to upgrade ventilation systems, reduce class sizes, and to assist with implementing social distancing. It also includes money to buy PPE or personal protective equipment and to hire more support staff. And some of that money will help childcare to reopen safely as well. Now, this section is much higher than previously suggested. That's because they have now included money for colleges and for childcare providers. And then in regards to small businesses, they are also throwing money to help small businesses. About $15 billion is allocated to the EIDL, or the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan Program. This will provide long-term and low-interest loans to SBA, or Small Business Administration. And then they have some money allocated for the PPP, or the Paycheck Protection Program. The money was run out for both of these programs from the previous stimulus bill, and now more funding will be available for small businesses. And then they have money for additional virus testing, more vaccines, the distribution of vaccines, and to administer the vaccines, as well as contact tracing. And they also want to allocate about $7.6 billion to hire more public health workers to support the responses to the virus. And last but not least, they have the $15 minimum wage increase. The Democrats, led by Bernie Sanders, still wants the minimum wage to be increased to $15 by the year 2025. They want each year to have an increase from the current $7.25 to be raised over $7 over the next 4 years. The plan would raise wages for more than 27 million workers in this country, which would ultimately lift about 1 million people out of poverty. This amount of funding could raise the federal deficit by $54 billion over the next 10 years. However, $54 billion to the government with the money printer is really not a big issue right now. The big issue is passing this bill without the support of any Republicans. Now, in order for everything in this bill to pass, they need all, and I mean all, Democrats to support this bill and vote in favor of it in the Senate. And that is because right now there is a 50-50 split in the chamber. And that's where the big problem occurs. Our old friend Joe Manchin. Now, don't get me wrong, Manchin supports about 98% of the things that are in this stimulus bill right now. But the one thing he does not support is raising the minimum wage to $15 per hour. Manchin has consistently been vocal about him opposing this minimum wage increase and has given alternatives, which means Manchin could ultimately decide whether this stimulus package, as it stands, will pass in the Senate. And he's not the only one. We now have Senator Christine Semina of Arizona. She has recently expressed her objection to the minimum wage increase as well. So now we have two potential roadblocks in passing this stimulus bill. This is the main reason why. President Biden came out a few weeks ago during an interview that he thought the minimum wage increase may not survive in the stimulus package. And that's because if the Democrats want to push this bill through fast and quickly, they must remove the potential roadblocks that stand in the way of it. So they can't remove the two senators, obviously, but they can remove this piece of legislation that would prevent the stimulus bill from receiving 50 Democratic votes and passing. So to me, it sounds like they will have to separate the minimum wage portion into its own separate bill that will need to get approved at a later date. And if they do that, this bill could be approved and voted on this week, which would mean that it could be sent to the president to be signed into legislation by next week, with the exception of the $15 minimum wage concerns. The House of Representatives will pass this bill with no issues. Then the Senate is going to need all 50 Democratic votes to pass, then off to the president. Now, with millions of Americans suffering right now from being unemployed, no food on the table, kids unable to go back to school, and people facing eviction, the Republican Party is still urging its members to vote against this stimulus bill that would help struggling Americans. Pelosi said that the House Republicans don't care about the struggling Americans, but they are going to do it anyways. They are going to do this without the support of any Republicans. And Nancy Pelosi believes that they will have this bill to Biden's desk well before the March 14th deadline, when the unemployment benefits are set to expire. So this week could be a very big week when it comes to the third stimulus package and providing more relief aid to the American people. Stay tuned so that you can receive each and every update that I provide for you. I will continue to keep you guys posted as usual. Outside of all of that, this has been your third stimulus check update news for today. If you enjoyed any of this information or found it to be useful, be sure to hit the like button for me. It definitely helps out a lot and it tells YouTube to share this video with others. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button for me so that you can be a part of this community. And hit the notification bell to be notified of each new video. Again, hey, I appreciate you guys stopping by and watching this video, and I hope to see you on the next video. Peace.